Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is a fantastic Thursday, and we are back at it. Just doing some quick Photoshoppy, and then we will get right back down to it. Morning, Saki. Yeah, we're gonna go over that. We'll go over that today. Okay, and then what's this? This is this browse. It's not perfect, but for now it'll do. It's a mix of both, actually. It's Restream and OBS. OBS is something that I've used for years and years and years with LinkedIn, but I wouldn't be able to actually manage chat from all of the different places that I stream at once without Restream. So if I was going to do just a direct interview one-on-one, I would be able to just use Restream. I'm a huge fan of that, but for right now, you can go in here and you'll see the destinations. I'm able to just go live immediately to all of these, with the exception of these ones. These are new. I'm going to have to take a look at how to set those up properly, but it allows me to just manage all of this really easily. Now, the layers on layers, the inception that we're getting right now. The layers on layers is something that OBS allows me to do, where I can create a more advanced template where I'm moving through different screens and looking at different things. But yeah, no, great question. It's definitely not just just Restream in this case. Now, Restream, if you are going to do an interview, is fantastic for that, where you can just use Restream directly. But otherwise, I had to find out how do you do this? How do you add commands? Which it says I've got to go. You know what? I'll do that after. Let's break this down. All this chat stuff I'll figure it afterwards. Huge shout out to Restream though, guys. They are the official sponsors. Eventually this is going to be a command. It's not currently, but if you guys aren't using Restream already, I do highly recommend it. I never partner with a tool that I wouldn't use personally. Obviously, I use this every single day. I love the tool. I love what it does. Check it out. You can get your hands on it there. I love it. I love what it does. Makes life very, very easy. With that said, let's break down ACRX. I want to break down Michael Burry's moves yesterday from his Scion Fund. Okay, so we had some pretty decent news from ACRX over the past month or so. The news was Zimmer Biomet in regards to their dental, on top of an earnings report where they beat, on top of an earnings call that said that they had received formulary approval and that more and more hospitals were opening their doors to them and what they're about and what they're doing. So, with ACRX, what we saw yesterday was ACRX had announced a publication of a study showing that Dasuvia, and these are some big numbers. Okay, so what they did was they took a sample size of 127 same-day surgery patients who received single sublingual Dasuvia tablets before their procedure. So you had 127 patients, and they were comparing them. So 127. I just want to make sure to read this right because sometimes these reports can get really tricky. So they had 127 patients that took Dasuvia that they were comparing to historical control groups using IVs. Okay. So what they're saying is we took 127 people that took Dasuvia and compared them to 127 people that we have historical data on that have IVs and took numbers from both to really break down how this worked. Okay. So after you receive anesthetic in a surgery of any kind, post-op, you have to be placed into a PACU, which is a post-anesthesia care unit. And this unit is there just to make sure that you don't have any adverse reactions or you don't have any relapses following the surgery. People monitor that you're coming down off the high, essentially, is what that room is for, okay? But you can imagine that the PACU gets loaded up pretty quickly. It doesn't stay a nice empty room. It's constantly full in a hospital, okay? So getting people in and out of the PACU as fast as you possibly can is essential to having any level of success. If you want a modicum of success as a hospital, the faster you turn beds and faster that you move units like that, the more money you're going to make essentially in the US, right? Not to mention it improves healthcare for the people that are in the hospital itself. So, discharge from the PACU was 34% faster in the Dasuvia group. So, typically, what they're seeing in people that received an IV is that it took nearly an hour for them to be able to leave that PACU unit. With Dasuvia, that it's almost half that. It's 36 minutes, which means that for every one person that you have that's coming out post-op on IV, you have two people leaving that room that were on Dasuvia, which is massive. That's a huge number. 62% of Dasuvia patients required IV intraoperative opioid treatment. So what this is saying is that during the surgery itself, you get your dope before you go in. Before the surgery starts, you're sitting on your meds, whether that's fentanyl, codeine, morphine, whatever, right? You're sitting on all of that. Morning hair. So whatever you're doped up with before you go into your surgery, that's what you've got. And this is saying who needed more painkillers after the initial dosage in their surgery. 62% of Dysuvia patients needed another opioid treatment during surgery. And people would say, well, that's a big number. 62%. That's like every two out of three people needed more opioid treatment. Okay, but when you compare it to the control group, which is not using Dysuvia, it's 97.5%. Almost all of them needed additional doping during the operation. So again, now we've got people are leaving the hospital beds and rotating the beds faster, which is profitable for the hospital. It reduces costs for them. They're allowed to see more patients through, as well as making the discharge time for people treated using Dysuvia much faster. Now we have during operation, who needs more painkillers? Okay, well, the Dysuvia group, it's only 2 out of 3 people. Whereas the people that are on morphine, it's all of them. All of them need it. So this means that you're using more painkillers, which makes the procedures more expensive, which makes the cost of the hospital to run those surgeries more expensive. They have to keep up inventory, which right now during an opioid shortage is extremely difficult. If you could cut your opioid usage during surgeries by 30%, that's huge. That's massive cost savings. And on top of that, you're not doping people twice on a single surgery as much as possible. A 30% gap there is huge. It's absolutely massive. Now, the one thing that I will say here, guys, is this historical control group. I haven't actually seen this entire study. I should look this up firsthand and actually break down what it has to say. So we'll do that in a little bit. But there's a couple of things that I just want to go over first, and then we'll dive into that in a little more detail. This is the other one. So mean opioid dose in the Dysuvia treated patient. So it's saying overall, from the entire time that they were dosed on their surgery, how much morphine equivalent does it give? Now, sufentanil is something that is far stronger than morphine. It makes morphine look like a joke, but the dosage of morphine that you're given or sufentanil that you're given in Dysuvia is significantly smaller than what you would see in a morphine dosage. So what we've got here is them saying, okay, well, what is the equivalency? Because we're talking about two different drugs, what would be the equivalency between Dysuvia and sufentanil? What are we looking at? And the reality is what we're looking at is 10.9 milligrams of morphine equivalents. So if Dysuvia was morphine instead of sufentanil, it would have been about 11 milligrams of morphine that they were given throughout the entire process of surgery. With the control group, historically, it was 20 milligrams. So almost double the morphine. So almost double the morphine, almost double the time in the PACU. Not quite double, but 40% more patients needed more morphine during surgery. These are all really negative numbers, really, really bad numbers. And they make ACRX come across as a real powerhouse. So pre-market, it's up another 4%, 5%. It's up to $1.49 right now. And hopefully we see this just continue to run. But I will try to track down the report here this morning, and we can actually break that down in some detail. The other thing that I did want to break down, yeah, so Saki, this is just it. This isn't just me being positive because I'm in the play. This is me being honest that I just don't see the downside. I don't see the risk. They have something that's an FDA approved painkiller. they have an opioid shortage coming like the world has never seen. They control their own supply line. Uh, they're breaking into dental sales. They're breaking into hospitals. They're breaking, and then on top of that, they've already got a $30 million order from the Army. But there's other extensions of that from both the Navy and Air Force and National Stockpile that we're going to hear about in October when the federal budgets drop. Um, so the larger biopharma, for the most part, and this is why we have an opioid shortage, have stopped producing morphine and fentanyl because opioids are such a risky thing. And they just don't want to have their brand tied to opioids if there's overdoses and there's street drugs that are being produced using their drug. There's a lot of people that are just pulling back from that. And as a result, what we have is a massive opportunity. One of the things that causes people to be a little bit hesitant to also go aggressively after ACRX is ACRX built this drug with a vision, but also backed by the US Army, the Department of Defense, right? They built this to spec for the Army, which is why when the Army says, okay, we need a drug specifically to do this, in order for one of these big biopharmas to create that, they would have to go back to the drawing board and start completely new on what they're doing without infringing on patent protection, which Dasuvia has till 2033. So essentially, what I'm saying is, I see this as a very safe play, in my opinion, uh, for at least the next decade. Uh, I probably won't hold my position in it for a decade. I will probably exit when I see the growth that I think it should have. I don't know that this approval takes it to a 15, 20, $30 stock. I think that they'll need to take this in stride and continue to create and maybe expand their pipeline outside of the opioid and painkiller. I think they need to look at other problems in the medical field and see what they can resolve. But that being said, uh, this puts them in a great position into Q4, Q1, 2021, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not a possibility of buyout. Pfizer is a major producer of fentanyl products and opioids. Pfizer might look at buying them out if they're open to that. But we shall see what we shall see. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, this is spelled wrong. For those of you that don't know, Michael Burry is a um, So first of all, if Pfizer was going to buy out ACRX, they would have to negotiate a terms on what they consider the fair value of the stock, and typically the stock will rise to meet that fair value. So usually they take a look at the current stock price and say, okay, well, you're obviously interested in this company because you realize that there's more value than where it currently is. So let's negotiate where we think that is reasonably. And so the two companies come back and forth, and ACRX comes out with a ridiculous number, like we think it's 20, $30. Um, Actually, I do have news on NGTF. So bring that up again because I'm definitely going to take a look at that after I break down Michael Burry here. But yeah, they would go back and forth at the table of ACRX going, well, we think we're going to be a $15 stock. Followed by Pfizer going, well, we think you're a $5 stock, not a $20 stock. And ACRX goes, okay, well, maybe we're not a $20 stock, maybe we're a $15 stock. And they go, I don't know, maybe you're an $8 stock. And they finish somewhere around 9, right? And that's where the buyout price comes in. And then you see the stock rise to meet that price. And usually it won't exceed that price except on an initial buy up where everybody wants to hop on that train to try to make that money up. And so you'll see a buy up, and sometimes the volume will take it a little bit over that price, but usually it locks in somewhere around the price. That's how that works. Michael Burry's Scion takes new stake in Alphabet, exits Boeing. Okay, so Michael Burry, guys, not a problem. Michael Burry, guys, is the gentleman from The Big Short, that's what he's most famous for. He identified the utter collapse of the mortgaging system in the US. He's played by Christian Bale in the movie, the guy that plays the drums and says Metallica and does crazy things. And people yell at him and scream at him and send him vicious emails, even though he's right. Uh, and it's, thank goodness he's on the spectrum, because I think that's the only way that he got through that sane, was his ability to just filter that and not actually be able to process that there was anger being thrown at him, and he just looked at the data, looked at the numbers, and trusted the play. Uh, Pretty amazing stuff. Scary, but amazing. So he's one of the men that I respect in the industry, because he knows his place, he knows what he's doing, and he sticks to his guns as far as that goes. So for me, I'm a very big fan of guys like Warren Buffett, guys like Michael Burry, because they know what they're doing. They don't make decisions on a whim. They're not pulling Scrabble tiles out of a bag, and yes, that shot's fired. They are literally just breaking down all the data that they possibly can. In Buffett's case, I'm sure he pays people to do that now. But with Burry, he's the head of Scion. Scion's the name of his fund. Uh, so the fund's total value right now is 315 million. Uh, he has bought $80,000 call options in Alphabet with a value of 100. So he's put a third of his fund into Alphabet. And then, interestingly enough, he's looking at retail, the battered retail, and travel sectors uh, for recovery. So he took an 8.4. Now, I am assuming that this is equity that they're stating he took a position in instead of options. So it's specific to say options here, but it doesn't clarify that over here. So I think that this is actually just an equity position. He took an $8.4 million stake in Trip.com and $10.6 million in Bed Bath & Beyond. It increased its holding in Discovery Communications. This is not a surprise to me. Discovery is trying to position itself to be a global leader in alternative sports, as well as their food programs. Like, they just have a constant flow of entertainment and content that's still coming in. I like the Discovery Communications. Wynn Resorts, again, he's increasing the position in Wynn Resorts because he likes travel. He's cutting positions in Maxer and Corvo, and he completely exited Jack in the Box and Boeing. So he's out of restaurants, out of airlines. Man, I've got the hiccups. Okay, so yeah, he exits his stake in Jack in the Box, exits his stake in Boeing. Um, so the exit in Boeing is the big one, guys. Boeing has been one that I targeted long ago to crash and burn alongside of Uber. Um, After the report came out showing that they knowingly flew planes that could kill people, I thought that was the death toll for them. The U.S. government did show up and kind of float them a line for a little bit. However, that doesn't mean that much, really, because right now they're sitting on a pile of planes. The airline industry's not buying them. They've built these jumbo jets that nobody wants. It's really a very, very interesting scenario at the moment for Boeing. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next little bit here. But more and more people are pulling away from them instead of backing them up and supporting them. I just realized I have to set this up here. So this goes here like this. So let's go check out tip ranks for the morning. Close that. Close that. Tip ranks. Let's see what TipRanks thinks about my portfolio. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if this is updated portfolio details. No, it shows it. It's just not very interesting. All right, still 3-star. I thought for sure that would drive it up, but it has not, which is fine. What's interesting here, guys, is since entering Westport, this thing is up almost 42%. And it still has a price target that's around 100% to the upside. Yeah, I don't think that this is indicative. I mean, I'm still beating the SPY, but yeah, this isn't no. Yeah, this is saying that the portfolio gain for the month is only 3, and that's not right. So, yeah, when it updates, I'll come back and check it, but that's not right. Not accurate. Okay. Let's head over to Seeking Alpha and see. Oh yeah, we were gonna try to find that report specifically. I don't know that the report is readily available, but let's see if we can. Journal of Clinical Anesthesia and Pain. Yeah, that's this one. Okay, so background is a number of surgeries performed in outpatients increases. Okay, it's saying that IV dosing induces nausea and vomiting inside the PACU. Okay, so yeah, 127 patients were evaluated with nearly identical baseline demographics. Okay, so that's important, guys. They didn't nitpick. They didn't go, okay, well, we want a couple of people here and a couple of people here, and they didn't try to skew it to their favor. They tried to find comparable cases. They wanted to find people, they wanted to find something that was apples to apples, right? We want the same thing. And I think that's kind of the big deal is not fudging those numbers is very, very, very important. At least I think it's important. I think that ability to showcase that there's that level of transparency when you're doing these studies is crucial. Otherwise, people are immediately going to say, "Well, of course it came out the way that you wanted it to. You were nitpicking on it, and so that's why you got the results that you got." And it's like, well, okay, that's not really the case here. So that's fantastic news. Very very happy about that. Um, okay, so let's see what's going on here of interest. Other thing I need to try to figure out at some point is how to fix this bloody audio. What if I make it? Okay, if I do this, I wonder if you guys can hear. I think you guys can hear if I do that. Right? I think. Good morning, Joe. I know that feeling. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So hopefully you guys can hear that audio. That's going to be crucial later, but yeah, for now. I want to be able to start having, and I'm okay not listening to music. You guys can listen to whatever music you want, but I want to be able to use this video again on YouTube. So I have to make a point of uh, not having any copyright covered music, yada 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 yada, while I've got the audio up. So I just have to make sure that I follow those guidelines. Anything that I listen to has to meet that criteria. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal. Now, Xerox is one that we've talked about before when I was looking at HP for a merger. Okay, somebody's going to get hurt by that decision. Winnebago increases their dividend. That's already a strong stock. Share buyback from Intel. This will be interesting. This will either be a huge catalyst for the market going up or down. And I know whenever somebody says, well, it could go up or down. But what I'm talking about here is um, a market moving. We're not talking a single stock. We're talking a SPY, right? If China comes out and says, okay, well, we're supposed to increase our purchasing of agriculture, manufactured goods, energy, and services from the states by 77 billion over what we already were spending in 2017, and it shows that they're at 20 billion. And they say, okay, well, screw you, we're not going to do the rest, and the trade deal dies on the table. Market's going to hate that. Trade deal gone with China. We go back to the daily. Oh, what's going to happen? China and the U.S. fighting. Oh no. Um, Now, if China says, "Oh, you're right. We're $30 billion or $20 billion behind here. Let's spend that," and then immediately they start spending and buying stuff up, look to major companies like Tyson, John Deere to explode. The tech sector will in turn go, "Oh, China wants to work with the U.S. economically. We like that." Expect the market to buy up in a big way. This is definitely worth noting, guys. In the coming days, isn't very specific, but that's a huge opportunity there, I think. Icon, you guys will remember, he's another big name out there as far as the investment world is concerned. I'm not a huge fan of Icon. His Hertz holding hurt, uh, but he's disclosed a filing of a $13 million position, and he's increased his holdings only by about a 0.5%, but he sees value in Xerox. My concern with Icon is he's too outdated. He's making too many decisions on his own, and as a result, it's hurting his portfolio performance. Last week, just as the FDA was preparing to issue an emergency authorization for blood plasma as a COVID-19 treatment, government health leaders, including okay, so that's a non-fire on COVID. This is talking about Evercore and the Q2 ride hailing. Ride hailing, that ruling is actually going to be bigger for Lyft and Uber. Um, that is scary talk for Con Ed. So Con Ed is one of the major suppliers of energy. They are a privately owned company. They're talking about taking away the ability for them to manage their network and bring it solely under the guise of the municipality. So allowing New York City to manage their own power. Socialism at a municipal level. That's very interesting. Cut out the public provider and give complete control over to the municipal government. Yeah, the general insight on this is New York can't manage their crime, their garbage, their sanitation, they can't manage themselves already. They're going to take on the power grid. I mean, sure, why not, right? Like they're not doing anything well already. Why not add something else to the list? There's a lot of negative hostility towards Cuomo here from people that live in New York, I tell you. A lot. All right, guys, it is that time, however, and I am just going to go get a glass of water and I'll be right back. Like 30, 45 seconds, okay? All good. Let's do it. All right. Um, let's do this and this. All right. So that's that. Winnebago increases their dividend. I mean, that's not bad. People are like, well, it's only a penny. Yeah, but it's a penny a share. Okay. So 12 cents a share at 60 bucks a share, right? Let's say that you wanted to bring in average single person living income. What is it that they want UBI to be? Okay, so 1,300 a month. That's the number that Andrew Yang wanted to present for UBI. Okay, and I'm not arguing the merits of UBI. I'm doing is saying, okay, this is what they want it to be. So if you get 12 cents a share every quarter, that means that you'd have to triple it, right? So 1320 divided by 4. Okay, you would need 33,000 shares of this times the stock price, which is 60. So you would need almost $2 million in Winnebago to make UBI off of it. That's crazy. I wonder what. Okay, so if that's that, MFA's dividend. It's an annual 7%. So NLY offers a 15%. It's real estate based, and it's quarterly. The market as a whole is still fighting for all-time highs, man. EO now offers EV battery leasing. Um, Kind of all over the place here this morning. I'm looking at dividends and I'm here and there. It's going well, man. The market's at, I mean, it's not at all-time highs, but it's fighting for all-time highs. S&P 5 years. I mean, look at that. Look at that. We're right at it. We could pass through it. All of the conjecture out there that Obama's responsible for the economy up until when? Up until how many years? Oh, right. I don't know how far you give Obama credit for the economy. If you're going to say 2 years into Trump's term in office. But that would still place it the SPY around 2640. This rise up to the 3300 mark is one that, okay, well, that must be Trump then, all time highs. Market crashes. Well, look, this is Trump's fault. Look, well, then this also is Trump's fault, right? This meteoric rise back up to where we are. All right, let's go here. Okay, this is about. Okay, I'll bring this up anyway, but this is not the news that I want. There's another piece of news. Okay, this is the news. So we were looking at this yesterday. Maybe Monday was when we were looking at it. I don't know about techs anyway. I don't track it. I don't trade it. I'm not a tech player. I couldn't tell you. Neo's price is $14. All right. The news here. So we had looked at NGTF just to get a feel for who they are, what they were doing. I saw numbers that I liked. I was going to dig a little deeper into them. I did connect with the CEO and the COO on LinkedIn. They did get back to me. I was able to just have a quick conversation with them. Nothing that's not public knowledge, so I'm able to disclose that. It's all public knowledge. There was nothing that was private knowledge made available to me. What was interesting was this news dropped immediately the next day. Uh, they've managed to secure. They keep touting this 50 billion mark, so remember, take that with a grain of salt if you can. Um, so ASG has decided, the Associated Supermarket Group in New York and the Eastern Seaboard. So they have 220 supermarkets that are now going to be stocking this ice cream. So that's not bad. 220 additional stores. I think the numbers that we were looking at yesterday for NFTG, uh, they had their growth. And GTF. Opinion on ACRX. I did drop it earlier in the video. That was one of the first things that we tackled to Nui. They're in a really strong place right now. I'm very happy with where they are and what they're up to. Not sure why I just did that. Okay. This isn't the report that we wanted. Can't remember where we saw that report. Okay, here's their Q3 results. $2 million loss in operations. With the majority of the spending coming from advertising and promotional, which is common. Uh, while they increased significantly, their net loss came down, so that's good. Hopefully, that's an increase. No, their revenues are down. Where was it that showed us? Was it the one on Twitter? I'm just looking for the chart that showed us. Oh, it was Twitter. You're right. That's exactly what it was. Well, Russia opposition leader Alexei Navalny is in hospital, suspected poisoning. Putin got him, boys. Putin got him. Don't run against Putin. Ever. Um, where is it? Mentions? Yeah, it's this one. Wait, what? Aw. Hmm. The tweet is gone. Oh, that's too bad. Mm, I can't find it. They had something up showing how many stores they had. Night Foods. Store locator. All right, so here's currently where the majority of their stores are. It when we looked at this last, I thought it was more in the southern states, but apparently it's all up in this northeast. Oh well, I can't find it. I like the look of that reporting that they just showed me. I just want the reporting though. I want this. I don't want everything else. Hmm. Oh well. What else we have? So Intel guys, Intel was one that took a huge hit. Their fight for semiconductor supremacy is not going so hot. So here's this. Yeah, I mean, $10 billion of share buybacks. That's a lot of money. Yeah, that is strange. Irregardless, that news of 220 independently owned supermarkets pulling in night foods is of note. The other one is Pickles for Two is their new type of ice cream. ACRX is up 5% now. Yes, it is. Trucking away to, I think 163, 170 was my break even on it. Um, it's tough because the my majority of my shares are in my Canadian margin account, so I have to account for the conversion rate. I mean, no FOMO, man. Don't FOMO yourself. Tis what it is. Um, okay, so this says 226, but that's not actually my average cost. That's 226 Canadian. Um, which is $1.70 US. I do have a US holding because I did buy an additional position in them at $1.40, $1.28. At $1.28, I did buy another 1,200 bucks in that, and that's already up 20% in the week that I've been holding with. So, pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. I mean, but this still isn't the play, guys. This is pennies. I'm looking for dollars. This is pennies still. This is not. This is great. The market's finally starting to come around and realize that this is a thing, and there's some backing on it. But this is just the beginning. Uh, if I go to tip ranks, what are the current alerts? Okay, so Brandon Folks 5 months ago uh, set a $9 price target, which is above the high. So we'll take him out. The low is 84. The high is 7 on this right now. This guy from Credit Suisse, Evan Seigerman. Let's see if I can find him. Seigerman. Okay, that's him there. I just want him. I for a guy to come in and drop an 84 cent. to drop this 84 cents. So if I knock out the high and the low, right? If I knock out 84 and 9, we're actually looking at a $6 average, not a $4 average. Um, they're not even considering this 9 here. It's just taking the 7 and the 84 and saying average is 428. Morning, Linda. How you doing? It's a beautiful day today. Guys, you may not know Linda, but I know Linda from over on Twitter. This lady has more energy than anybody I have ever met. She is off the wall, excited about everything that she does, which is pretty cool. Uh, but it's good to see her swing by and say hi. US China agreed to phase one trade talks is, I think, the big news so far today. So far, anyway. That is cutting 1 week dollar swaps. European Central Bank says the U.S. Federal Reserve will cut 7-day swap operations with major central banks from 3 to 1 tender per week due to the improved funding environment. Okay, so the Fed is seeing recovery. Yeah, it's still dark out. It's lighting up slowly. This is me by blue light. This is monitor lighting alone. Um, I love this time of morning though. This is a fantastic time to engage from people all over the world, where you get some European people and you get some Asian people and you get some North American crazies like myself that are up. You get a nice blend of kind of everybody from all over the world. Also, the market's not open yet, so it makes it easier for me to actually break down what's going on. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's open this. Let's open this. Who's this? No, that's the doctor. And Jim Cramer's tweeting. He's up early. Billions needed by small business. That's believable. I could see that. Private loans getting lower interest rates in China. They're trying to get people to spend. Interest rates are staying low globally. If you use Swiss watches as an indicator of global wealth, there we go. the, they've leveled in their sales. What is this? A UAE Israel deal. UAE Israel deal. This is historic. Why is this news not everywhere? This is a big deal. Very interesting. Stability in that region is typically good for oil and energy, guys. Home builders. I have not taken a look. That's another industry that I just don't dive into. GXO, what's up, man? Long time no see. How's it been? The US is going to let pharmacists vaccinate. Interesting. Wirecard's been completely pulled from the DAX. Well, that's bad news for USO. We've reviewed ACRX. We reviewed Night Foods. Right now, guys, I'm going to go fill up my water. But if there's anything you guys want me to take a look at and break down, home builders I know was one that was mentioned. So I'm happy to take a look at that. But if there's anything else you guys want me to take a look at, just let me know. I'm going to go fill up this water and I will be right back. Thank you kindly. That I'm glad you caught that right away. Yeah, no. So guys, Restream is one of the new sponsors of the stream. Huge shout out to them. I love the tool. I love being able to chat with everybody from all the different platforms: Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, all at once. Couldn't do that without Restream. So huge shout out to them. Thank you for that. If you guys aren't using them already, I highly recommend that you do give it a look see. I would never promote something that I don't use. For those of you that have been around for a while, you know that Restream has been a part of this channel from go. So uh, before those sellouts come into chat, it's a tool that I love, it's a tool that I use, and that's why I can advocate for it. All right. So what are you guys looking at today? And we can break some of that down. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. SRNE, that's an interesting one. So SRNE is in trouble in a couple of different ways. So SRNE is currently at $11. This initial spike to 20 was on them saying they had a cure for COVID. The cure for COVID that they had, though, was in a non-peer reviewed result from a single petri dish. So for me, right away, back in June, maybe even before that, I think back in May, I was bearish on these guys. When they came out with that announcement of they have a cure, that just for me was total BS. Then they came out about their test that they're going to put out, and Yale has undercut them. So people are actually using terms stating it's a pump and dump. They've got Hindenburg research all over them. They went from having a cure to COVID to being a tester for COVID to not even really doing that. That it, like okay, let's actually go look their pipeline, shall we? Their CFO has been fired. Pipeline. Okay, so they have an epidural pain medication that's got an orphan drug designation that is in phase 2. They have a lung cancer. NSCLC is a lung cancer drug that is in phase 3. They have nothing that's FDA approved, and they're at $11. Let's just say to the upside over the next 12 months, I could see SRNE having potentially a $12 price target. Uh, to the downside, I would see Sorrento having a $1, sub $1 price target. I don't know if there's options on this. There are options on this. Okay. Uh, um, the January $1 options on these are $10, and uh, yeah, I don't think that that's crazy. The March $1 are 10 cents. Yeah. My thoughts on SRNE are, uh, their data is fraudulent. They are fraudulent. Don't buy them to the long, in my opinion. That's my thoughts on them. Hey, no problem, man. But that's the big thing with bio guys. What you want to do is immediately go, okay, well, what's happening currently? Take a look at what's going on with their companies, see if there's any relevant news. Them getting fired, Yale coming out with a saliva test that is better than what SRNE has. Those immediately are two major big hits. Um, Follow that up with investigating their pipeline. If you're seeing a company in bio that's anywhere from the $11 to $20 range, they should have an FDA approval on something. Okay, there should be an FDA approval. If there's no FDA approval at all, then what you should be seeing is massive phase threes. They do not even have that. They have a single phase three drug. Now, they have multiple phase two. However, these phase twos, this is an orphan drug designation. That's of note. This is the only good thing that I see on this, but that's not an assurance that the fallout that they're going to see from all of these COVID programs is going to be abuse. Application expected. They haven't even submitted an application for this diagnostic test. As far as the antibody test, it's under review. That's not approved. These are all preclinical. There's nothing here. And this is their lung cancer drug that they're trying to use for COVID that's in phase two. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not. If this was a cure, this phase two evaluation would immediately receive FDA approval based off of the data. And I doubt it very much that we're going to see that. Jim Cramer likes Tesla now. That's interesting. Brick and mortar retail out the window. That's not a surprise. We expected that. This is a good idea. This is a great idea. Your cell phone is going to come with your streaming plans. You want Disney, you want Netflix, you want Amazon Prime. Well, your cell phone plans are going to dictate which one you get for free. I think that's a great idea. Well, no duh. If you don't see the stimulus checks, you expect an economic downturn. Supreme Court on Obamacare. That's going to be big. mRNS. Okay, this is one that I've looked at in the past. This I like. Yeah, this is when I started to take note of mRNS. It was on the pediatric tag for their epilepsy drug. I think they do have potential. Again, you have to go to the pipeline to see how far along they are on that. They will get an accelerated review because of their designation, but it's still important to note their pipeline. Yeah, so this is big. So they've got two that are already in phase 3. I think both of these are really solid. This is their big one, the CDD. Yeah, this is a big deal. And we're expecting data in Q3 on this. So mRNS is looking like it's in a really great position actually at the moment. I concur. I also like it where it currently is. Okay, so at the high yesterday, ACRX shot up to 154. It's now leveled out around 140, but I'm wondering if we don't see that just fly back up again today. It's up 5% on very low volume this morning, but I think there's still opportunity. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Executive order on student loans, extension of interest-free payments on student loans. They can never just say that this guy did something right. Like, he extends student loans, interest-free student loans. He extends them into January, into the new year. He may not even be around to make the changes that need to be made, but he extended them into the end of the year. And instead of going, thanks for that, it's, well, that's not exactly what we wanted. You spoiled, pampered. Oh. Um, well, he's saying, well, it's not a bad thing, but because the interest-free extension ends in January, that's when everybody has to pay all of their bills from Christmas. So that's a really bad time to have them have to pay their loans again. And it's like, man, you're right. He should just start charging them interest again now. He shouldn't extend that at all. He should just completely scrap it and have them go back to paying the interest on their loans. That's what we should do instead. That would be a fantastic idea. My goodness. I have I tell you guys, every day I open up my browser, I open up Twitter, and there has not been one day in his entire term that there has not been some Trump, anti-Trump BS in this what's trending now. Trump meltdown, go to bed. Every morning. Every single morning. And got caught. My president. Just, I've never seen a 4-year tantrum like this. Ever.
Ever. Not Clinton, not under Bush, not under Obama. There has never been a 4-year temper tantrum quite like this. And I don't have a horse in the race, guys. I don't. As a Canadian, your politics is your own. But man, oh man, it looks nutty just to see people stamping their feet and throwing a tantrum every single day. All right, Colorado Springs, Ohio, and Rochester, New York are the top cities to buy homes in. Go figure. Colorado Springs, Colorado, beautiful, outdoor, far out. Reynoldsburg, Ohio, I bet you that's outside Cleveland. Rochester, I bet you that's outside New York City. It's people moving to the suburbs, folks. It's happening. Affordable living. Obamacare by the Supreme Court. This is going to be a big one. It says we won't get a determination on it until spring of 2021, so it's a long way out. Um, but they will start to hear arguments in November. Yeah, you'll never see Florida pass that. No way. Florida extending Medicaid. That would be an absolute nightmare for them financially. Mm. Nothing till spring on that anyway. Nothing till spring. Oh man. Man, oh man. Okay. Oil news, tech news. Surprising, there's no there it is. I love these. Okay, so it's official. There's a VP nomination, guys. As of yesterday, Kamala Harris is officially on the ticket. So it's Biden Harris versus Trump Pence. Um, Can you imagine going down the street and seeing somebody with that? That would be hilarious. Hold on. I am.
藝術咧都係源於生活。所以我會喺好多喺我生活上邊嘅一啲嘅事物啦，而令到我去啟發
Oh,
到
it
我做好
doesn't
多唔
run
同
when
嘅
it's
嘢
full
嘅口
screen
罩。
like that. What the heck? AT&T long term, yeah. So AT&T is one that I'm okay with. I prefer T-Mobile in that space. I only know this because I played the T-Mobile Sprint merger, and so I had to familiarize myself with that industry. AT&T is a really solid dividend hold. They're a very profitable company. I think they're well positioned for the future. I just prefer T-Mobile Sprint given their 5G position as the leader in 5G. Regardless, that's pretty cool. Shoot. There we go. The belief that everybody counts, that's who Joe is, as long as you vote for him, because if you don't vote for him, you're not black. I don't know. Joe Biden has been in the government for 40 years. I don't know how Joe Biden can fix anything. He's been around and he hasn't done anything. That's the argument in a nutshell there, folks. In office for 3 years, runs on his accomplishments. Office for 40 plus years, still runs on what he plans to do. This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts that Putin got him. Oh, Alexei Navalny. Okay, I don't care about this. I don't. Can you get rid of this stupid ass banner so I can read what I want to read? Thanks. All right. Russian opposition leader, outspoken Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny was unconscious and on a ventilator in a Siberian hospital Thursday after falling ill from suspected poisoning. He was on a return flight to Moscow from Tomsk. His spokeswoman, Kiri Yarmych, said on Twitter the plane later made an urgent landing in Omsk. He only drank black tea at an airport cafe before takeoff, Yarmych told Russian radio station Echo of Moscow. We assume that Alexei was poisoned with something mixed into the tea. It was the only thing that he drank in the morning. Doctors say the toxin was absorbed faster through the hot liquid. Hmm. Hmm. Marbles is not something I do during the morning stream, guys. If ever I happen to hop on and do a stock stream during the day, I'm more than happy to run Marbies for you guys. But during the morning, I'm never going to run Marbies. Um, never. But the Putin is always good. Canadians are huge fans of Putin. Bearded Pepe Frog, is that what that is? Melanie remains unconscious and is now connected to a ventilator. So here's how this political play works. Putin poisons him. Then Putin goes out and finds who did this because he's outraged and he wants to defend democracy in his country. So he's going to go out and they will find somebody to pin this on, and that person will have the full letter of the law thrown at him. But their family will be taken care of by the Russian government for the rest of their life. Um, this is literally the JFK shooting, the John Wilkes Booth thing, but in Russia. He is stable currently. Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're not going to be a card carrying member of the Socialist Party. Yikes. The intensive care unit was full of police officers. They tried to get an explanation from the doctor. The doctor saw me in the distance in the corridor and said that some things are confidential and took the police to another room. The evasive reaction of doctors only confirms that this is poisoning. Just 2 hours ago, they were ready to share any information, and now they are clearly biding for time and are not saying what they know. Yeah. So they're going to demand fake news Russians only drink vodka. That's funny, but not necessarily timely. A man is in the hospital and dying. So I give you points for funny. I take points for too soon. Um, So they're demanding the government. His lawyers are already asking for an inquiry. I can't read that one, but I did take this one. Signs from angry neighbors. Stealing plants is a low and selfish act. What's next? Punching kittens? You suck. Please do not use Charmin or Cottonelle toilet paper. The hack the thick toilet papers plug up and cause a backup in the building sewage. I'm out of toilet paper. How well do socks flush? Oh, the ad got me. I think you might have had a parcel delivery left by your side gate. Saw some gypsies pinch it. Would have stopped them if you had been nicer neighbors. Malcolm. Ouch. Hey, please don't leave your stuff in the dryer forever. And the time I waited to see if you would move your stuff, I started a career, got married, started a family, moved to the country, became a grandfather, retired all in the nude because I couldn't dry my clothes, so I decided to move your stuff. Sorry. I don't know how to fold sheets, but I tried. Clever. Clever. I'll give him points. Do not feed the squirrels. They may carry bubonic plague. You're making them depend on humans. They bury your peanuts in my garden. The truth comes out. That last one is the big one, right? Upstairs neighbor's favorite shoes, cement blocks. Anybody that's ever lived in an apartment building, that right there, you know what that is. Please do not feed the pigeons. They do things. Welcome, but you need a permit for a new garage. She's got the look at 5:30 a.m. every morning for 30 minutes. Please stop. My ears are bleeding and you've ruined a perfectly good song. Oh, is it really up 8%? Is today the day? Yep. What's the volume like on it though? Because it was up 5% on like 120 shares. Maybe my volume's just not updating because I still see it at. I see the price up, but I don't see the. Yeah, this is not updating. It's not one of the top ones though. It's got to break into that 30% range. Let's head over to the stock tweets. Is that bad? It's bad because Saki wants to get a larger holding in it before it takes off. Again, guys, remember, in my opinion, my forecast on this is we are expecting it. My expectation on it, my forecast and analysis has been since January. This is an $8-10 stock on this. So at $2, an $8 stock is still a good position in my opinion. My forecast since January, so Q1 of this year, I entered a large position, $15,000 position into ACRX with a Q4 prediction of $8 on it. Yeah, I think that's a big deal. No, no, not in the bio industry anyway. There's lots of them. You just have to be aware of what you're looking for in bio. Um, I'm sure they exist in other industries as well. So MFA, for example, MFA is one that I see over the next couple years going back up to that $8 range. They're currently around two. So WPRT is one, and that's in the diesel energy range. Oh, I said I would look at TTOO. Um, TTOO. But WPRT is in the energy range, and I've got that price at the same thing. So it's I got in at $1.87 Canadian, and I expect this to go somewhere around the $12 to $15 range. Yeah, the CEO is just sitting and waiting for China to send approval, and uh, I think that that's going to come anytime now. So over the next year and a half, year and a half. But I'm already up 30% on the play in the month that I've been holding it. So I'm going to continue to hold it moving forward. I do see it at that $12 range reasonably over the next year and a half. If it gets access to the China market, it's going to explode in a serious way, which is fantastic. Okay, T2 Biosystems backs away, launches COVID-19 molecular diagnostic test. So far, I'm not liking it. If all their news is about COVID, I'm not a huge fan. What is this called? T2 Biosystems. Again, guys, as always, the disclaimer is here. This is all opinion. Nothing I throw out here is financial advice whatsoever. It is purely opinion. Okay, so let's take a look at their pipeline. Their website broken? You can't even scroll down? Really? Wow. What the heck is this? Okay. Um, that's gonna give somebody a seizure, so I gotta turn that off. Um, Yeah, it looks like it's just building on COVID, and I'm not a fan of that. Apparently, there was a military coup. Mali military coup. Interesting. Um, so this is one area where I actually greatly differ from a lot of people when they're doing their due diligence. I know that Colonel in the past has made comments in regards to him going back and seeing why the stock has dropped so significantly from where it was. For me, I do what the market does. I'm forward looking. What happened in 2014 is not going to affect their price moving forward. So for me, I'm always forward facing when I'm looking at the stock. What is it that they've got coming up down the pipeline in regards to their news? And people say, well, what about somebody like Boeing? Aren't you going to take their history into account? Well, their history is still playing out in the forefront. So when you look at what's coming up for them, it's FTC rulings on their planes, it's federal contracts that they are unable to fulfill. It's all of these things, right? And so for me, looking ahead is still a way for you to be able to absorb what's happening retroactively that's still going to have implications in the future for them. So Kodak, for example, take Kodak, for example. If you were somebody who looked at Kodak and said, well, they're a failing film company, you probably never would have thought there was any potential to them as a bio company. Now, when that loan dropped, nobody expected it to rise the way that it did, but the resurgence in interest in the company is because they are actually equipped with chemical plants to produce pharmaceuticals. They're able to do it. If they can make the transition, that's up to them whether or not they want to make that transition. But if they choose to make that transition, and I assume they do with that massive loan from the government, then what that allows them to do is evolve as a company. That's forward facing. To say, well, I'm not going to get into them because they were a camera company that failed 4 years ago. That has nothing to do with what's going to happen on the next year to 18 months, which is the schedule that I trade on, right? So, um,
No problem. Oh, price targets for me, I mean, for me, that's more of a gut instinct of reasonably based off of the news and what that means for their bottom line. Where do I see that causing a rise in the value of the company? So, knowing that there's a massive opioid shortage, and I always try to be very reserved in that estimate. So, for me to offer an $8 uh, opinion in January on ACRX when it was at $1.50, people would think I was nuts. But I also know that the Department of Defense has deep pockets. I know that we have an opioid shortage. For me, I can easily see this thing going to quadruple its value on a solution to both of those problems backed by enough money. So yeah, as far as how I get my price targets, which I think is what you're asking, uh, I just know business and make an assertion based off of what I know. Some of these are harsh. Okay, dividends are coming in, some earnings. Cytodyne dropping more news. They are heavy on the press releases lately. That's good news for Cytodyne. I wonder if that reflects that today in the market. So they requested fast track approval in the UK. They're now approved for a phase 3 study. Cytodyne is a position that I took earlier in the month. They have an HIV drug coming down the pipeline. They have a New York Stock Exchange listing coming down the pipeline. They have all of these pieces that are just in the right place. So an HIV drug, a COVID drug, approvals, fast tracks going through. This is pretty great that they requested fast track approval in the UK yesterday, and today the UK's regulatory agency has signed off on a phase 3 clinical trial. That's huge.
So France is not going to lock down even though cases are rising again. I don't know that any country can afford to do what they did again. Okay, here's an article from 2019. Kamala Harris calls out Biden on the issue of race, saying the way he recently described his past working relationship with two segregationist lawmakers was hurtful. Biden, at a campaign event earlier this month, had cited his ability to get things done, even with segregationist senators, as examples the type of civility in Congress that has since disappeared. Biden called Harris's attack a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not. So Harris calls out Biden and says that he praises racists back in 2019. Very, very interesting. The debates are going to be so interesting because literally Biden cannot really come out and throw shade on Trump at all for what he hasn't done in 3 years. Because in his 3 years in office, everything has been stonewalled by the Democrat House. Everything. Uh, Tooth and nail fighting every step of the way. And Trump's immediate rebuttal will be the Democrat House stopped me from doing what I said I was going to do. We need to fix that. And you've been in office for 40 years and caused the problem that we're currently in. So It's going to be a really one-sided debate. I'm not sure what exactly they can throw at him. They can throw the Russian report at him, but there was no charges filed. Meanwhile, there's litigation forming against the Obama administration for spying on the Trump campaign. I'm not sure how you go into a debate with Trump as Biden. You've got a whole lot of ammo for Trump, and I mean, other than everything everybody's already heard, it's like that 8 Mile. You guys have all seen 8 Mile with Eminem, right? Um, it's like the rap battle at the end of the movie where Eminem comes up and he says everything wrong about himself, and then he goes on to say everything wrong about Biden. Well, it's kind of the same case in these presidential debates where everybody already knows everything that's wrong with Trump. They're like, what is Biden going to throw out that people haven't been hearing for 4 years? Nothing. There's no ammo left. There's no smoking gun. There's no bombshell to drop. It's pretty crazy. This is good news for CVAC. Of course, Alibaba beats. I mean, that's a 20% rise in 2 days. I'll take that. Seeing a lot of bullish. I'm looking for a bear. I want a bear. There it is. Okay, so the only bearish thing is him posting an article from 2018. Uh, I would say Trump's got bigger friends than the Clintons. That would not go well for them. Okay, let's take a look. TRVN, $1.97. Pretty crazy stuff. So TRVN is another one, is another opioid treatment. It's an IV opioid treatment that has long been seen as an opponent of ACRX, mostly because in the stock board, people from TRVN are coming over to ACRX and telling people, "Oh, you should come over to TRVN. ACRX is crap," and the two go back and forth. The reality is they're two very different drugs, and IV opioid and sublingual are two completely different markets. They're two different drugs. They do two very different things. Very, very different things. Before we get out of here, guys, is there any other stocks that you want me to take a look at? FRO. Frontline Limited. Shipping company, seaborne transportation of crude oil, oil products worldwide. Yeah, I'd say this is a really solid long hold, actually. Let's go to the 5 year. At the money equity offering. 2021 is going to be a better year. Yeah, I'm okay with this. In my opinion, I'm okay with this. It still hasn't updated. $30% a year. Yeah, that's because the stock doesn't really grow past $15. So what they try to do is retain shareholders through the dividends, which is great. Which is great. At $10, if you're getting $3 a share at $10, that's fantastic. Are they quarterly dividends or are they annual dividends? 33% annual payout. I mean, pre-market they're down 2%. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. 30%. So let's say it goes back up to that 14, but you buy, let's say you buy 1,000 shares at $8, right? So you buy 8,000 times 30. So you'd be seeing 2,400 a year just on 1,000 shares. And then it goes back up to $14. So it'd be, so let's say, so we're saying you have 1,000 shares, so it'd actually be 14,000. You got 1,000 shares at $8. It goes up to $14, so you have $14,000 worth of shares. And your annual dividend you'll see on that is 4,200. That's not bad. 4,200 in the bank for 8 grand. It's a 50% return year over year on that. You make your money back in 2 years and you just hold it. It's not bad. I like it. Yeah, and that's true for most. That's true for most folks out there. All right, guys, I'm going to grab some water and then hop into the rerun, I think. So 30 seconds. I'll be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have an amazing day out there. Stay green in the market. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you're doing that subscribe, follow thing. I will catch you tomorrow morning, 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7 a.m. If you want to get all the stuff that we did earlier in the stream, you weren't up for it, no problem. There's a rerun here. I also posted up on YouTube, so check it out there. Take it easy.